Recently, I've been really into just doing freestyle footwork. The appeal of tricks has slowly diminished over the last few months, and I just want to do footwork. I just want to dance, and one of my favorite tricks has actually become the walk the cow, which is surprising because I never really thought that I would like this trick this much, but I do. And I've gotten a ton of comments asking me how I do them because they're a rather awkward trick to do. And so today I just want to talk about 3 or 4 tips that have really helped me improve my walk the cows. I guess the most important place to start is with foot positioning. So we can think of this as kind of a regular riding position. We have a back leg that's near the tail and a front leg that's in the middle up towards the front bolts. When you do the walk the cow, what the trick actually is this back leg is going to come out in front of the front leg, right? And this position by itself is really difficult for a lot of people to do. And what happens is this back leg rotates the board 180 degrees and you step back on with your front foot. And you're back to your regular riding position. So once again, kind of move this front foot back to give me room. I step forward with this leg. This foot does the rotation. And we're back. So once again, kind of move this front foot back to give me room. I step forward with this leg. This foot does the rotation. And we're back. This really eluded me for a long time, this idea of my back leg rotating the board. I just forever could not figure out what was going on. And so the important thing is that we want to get a proper foot positioning for our back foot, which is now at the front of the board, right? So the way I kind of think of it is that on all decks, you kind of have these turning sweet spots in the pockets, which I've mentioned on this channel before. These are the places that help rotate the board more than anything else. So what we know is that more pressure here will be more rotation, and more pressure over here towards anywhere else is going to be more friction. So I try to find a good balance almost by cutting these bolts in a diagonal of friction from my toe and then turning from my heel. And you really just need to experiment. Like, if you're getting a lot of chopping where the board's coming up like this, it's definitely less controlled when you have the board chopping up like this. But then also if you're over here, it's going to cause too much friction and not rotate well, right? So the first thing is just to experiment with foot positioning and remember that more pressure in pockets is going to give you more turning. More pressure outside of the pockets is going to give you a little more friction. So you might want to experiment with how much your foot rotates. It might be easier to have a bigger diagonal. It might be easier to have it less so. You just try to figure out what's good for you, your body weight, your tightness of trucks. All of these are going to be different. And that's why it's really important. Just stand here and see what rotates the board. That's pretty much the best first step, is to just stand here, rotate, step back on, right? And just do it over and over again. Because you're going to need to be able to step back in to this kind of awkward position. And if you can't, then really you probably should be starting off with stretching. I would say that the second tip is actually to kind of focus on your shoulders and your hips. I mean, if you think about it, our ankles are not known for being particularly strong. So a lot of the rotation for this walk the cow, for me personally, actually is coming from my shoulders and hips. You'll notice that when I do it, I kind of do a little bit of a twisting motion, like that. And I mean, I didn't get the full 180, but it's fine, I liked it. And so what you might notice is that I'm really kind of whipping my shoulders back and my hip forward, and that helps me spin the board. You don't always get a full rotation. It's fine, that's gonna happen forever. you know, it's just part of it. Another thing I struggled with in the beginning was actually leaning. I would be able to rotate the board, but then my body would be too far back, kind of like this. And so actually what I would think about in my mind is that I would step forward, and then I would think consciously about this front foot stepping back out in front of me, kind of, and I'd kind of step forward. And because I'm stepping forward, that means that my transfer of weight is kind of going from right here in the middle of my deck, and then it's moving forward just a little bit. If you just look at my feet, I'm starting from this kind of pretzel position, and I'm ending up over here. So I want to make sure that I'm also transferring my body weight from here to here. What I don't want to do is this, right? Because then I'm going to slip out and it's going to be painful. What else is there? Things that helped me. Carpet boarding. I didn't start trying this on a carpet board, but pretty much right after I started trying this trick, I decided to take it to a carpet board and practice there instead, and it infinitely helped. It just really helped me get a sense of that moving my weight forward very gently. It helps me get a sense of rotating my upper body, and it really helped me get a sense of a lot of the small details that I was going to need. It also was a great stretch for my back leg that had to be doing this kind of strange twist. Future Sarah here, interrupting this tutorial with breaking but unsurprising news. Halfway through the tutorial, my microphone shut off. Not only did it shut off, but apparently it died completely, as in it does not work anymore. So for a lot of this video, I'll actually be using a voiceover, which will hopefully explain why I'm talking in the video and talking over the video. So let's go back to Sarah of the past. So this is kind of funny. Right here, I am actually just explaining why I made this tutorial like this. If you're familiar with my channel, you probably know that my tutorials tend to be a lot more scripted. I like to dive deep and really analyze stuff. But for this one, I literally just came to the park with hopes and a few notes. And because of that, I wasn't sure how great this tutorial would be, which is extra funny now since my mic had literally died moments before I said that. But the gist is, I wanted to make this impromptu tutorial because tutorials take a lot of time and work and effort, especially the way I like to do them. But at the same time, I'd like to try and get some more tutorials out faster because I want to share what I'm learning with you. So let's talk about a few problems and things to keep in mind. 1, balancing like this in itself is quite difficult, which is why I think that just working on the twist and stepping back up onto the deck is a great idea. You know, work on that motion and your flexibility. It's also good to point out that you don't have to hold this position for a really long time. You can jump right out of it. You don't have to hold it here like this. I mean, it is not a comfortable place to be. At least not for me. 2, another thing to keep in mind, and that slip up actually reminded me of something important to consider. The ground matters. It's way easier to drag your wheels along a smooth surface like a nice concrete skate park, a tennis court, some basketball courts, but rough ground like this will take a lot more power to drag the wheels around at all. So try to keep that in mind and don't feel too frustrated in the beginning if your wheels are kind of skirting along the ground. You could maybe work around that if you have killer balance skills and can lift the trucks off the ground ever so slightly. I do not, so I don't do this on purpose. I feel much safer when I accidentally skirt them along the ground than when I accidentally chop the deck up, since, like right here, it often just ends in pain for me. But here is some accidental proof that you can indeed do it, and I'm sure there are talented freestylers who can or do, but I tend to err on the side of caution, and I do like that slight drag of the wheels kind of grinding across the ground. A third thing, something I still struggle with, is that sometimes when doing this stationary, the board starts to drift off in one direction. You can't really do much to stop it and might end up doing this. Which reminds me, because of this issue right here, you don't want to lean too far forward before starting this trick. If you do, you're going to encourage the board to travel more in that direction behind you. Lean forward too soon, and this often happens. What you really want to do is try to have your body stay over the center of the board until you're spinning it, and then follow your foot forward, which sounds super hard but will become very intuitive as you do this trick. It's very much like stepping on the ground. My body follows the exact same pattern off the deck. I don't lean forward and then step. My weight follows the movement. And finally, if you really struggle with this trick, just start on the ground. Cross step over, twist your foot, step over again. Just work on this. The movement, the feeling, the flexibility. You really can regress this trick all the way to doing it on the ground. And just playing around here for a few minutes, I remembered that there are a few places I really think the walk the cow fits in well. The first place is footwork, of course. I think it's a great addition to stationary and rolling lines. It's just a good little thing to throw in there during your fast feet dancing. But also, any trick that ends in a pretzel or cross-footed position, I think is the perfect opportunity to get out with the walk the cow. I personally think it's a lot more stylish than just hopping back to your regular stance. Alright, I made it back to my car. Unfortunately, it looks like there might have been an issue with the audio while I was filming the tutorial about maybe halfway through. So hopefully I can find a way to either fix that, or there'll be a lot of voiceover in this video that there wasn't supposed to be. So either way, I really still hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope to see you next time.